Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food with Keto under 20 total carbs every day. So today is Monday, September 3rd. And what do we have here? Well, we might have had more than a messy Monday, right? We might have had a messy month or two during the summer where things weren't always in our control. And even the best of us may have had some slip ups. And we don't want to do that anymore. We want to buckle in. It's the school year, and I don't know about you guys, but I know that for me, getting used to the school and the routine and all of those sort of things, I guess I really liked that sort of thing. Well, I suppose none of you are surprised because I'm a tracker and a weigher. And so, I did get pulled into those things. I came from a severely dysfunctional alcoholic home. And so it was the one thing that I could glom onto that had just a base of just everything's going to be okay. You're back in school. You got some new school clothes. Everything will be okay. And that translated in over the years into all of my various addictions. But I do like the order of the routine, the tracker put in place. If you're one of my clients, it's always suggested you put what you're going to have to eat in the night before. It takes the power out of it. One, because you probably have the food in the fridge, or you're going to go shopping for that food and you know what you're having. So that part just gets settled. It just gets into a nice, cute little box with a nice little bow, and you can go about your day. And, if my food is out of whack, I will guarantee you that the rest of my day and my life is out of whack. I might be picking up the old habits again of maybe nibbling or licking spoons or leaving things off the tracker because it's like somebody's looking at it and they might say, "Oh, you had that? You? Really? You had a Quest bar?" or something like that. And so I try to keep things in order. And so I put in the bones of my week while I'm doing my overnights. And we pretty much have the same foods every single day. And so, not every single day, but every single week, it's the same sort of rotations with just a couple of variations. And so that's what's going on here. And so I can just kind of put it in. In fact, in my chronometer, and I have the paid version, which is like $36 a year. So $3 a month, 75 cents a week. That's worth it for me. But they also have a free version. And really, I haven't noticed the difference because some of my clients have the free version. And so I can cut and paste. So on the Big Green Egg night, which is always Sunday night, it's the steak, the asparagus, the Brussels sprouts, and the cauliflower crumbles. I can cut and paste that to the next Sunday. Done, baby, done. And I can always go in and adjust, but it makes it easy. And it's just a settling sort of thing for me, a food addict in recovery. I don't like to be without knowing what I'm having. And it's the same thing in the rest of parts of my life. I don't want to be driving on empty in my car, and I don't want to be, in a neighborhood without GPS. I like to know where I'm going and, map out my day as I map out my foods for the day in my tracker. It's just a settling thing for somebody like me that could easily slip off the rails. And when I slip off the rails, it's like I was never on the rails. I really lose, that part of my brain that knew that, the imprint of like how to do my day of keto under 20 total carbs every day. And I don't want to go back to that. So it makes life just a little bit smoother, a little bit easier. And as many of you may know, if you're the creator of your own YouTube channel or Facebook page with some videos, you know that you're accountable. There's this built-in accountability. And I don't want to come back on here and say, "Oh yeah, I really blew it, you guys," and or I'm doing a different food plan now. Won't you come with me? I did go from Weight Watchers. I did that for I think 18 months, and I think I lost 17 pounds and it never changed in the 18 months. It's kind of like, woo, flatline. And then I did low carb, high fat for, I think, another year where my carbs were like, 75 or something like that. I had a baked potato most every week on steak night, and then I would slip in a sweet potato alongside the pork chop. Those things just seem to go together. So the white potato and the sweet potato. And I had many more carbs. And of course, Brussels sprouts are expensive if you're shopping for total carbs. So I know that I had more Brussels sprouts. I had them more often and things like that. And now I basically keep my food plan at just such a regular low. I usually have the portion of meat, 4 to 6 ounces of like a pork chop or a steak, or some ground burger on my taco salad. And then I have my leafy greens, which are very low in carb, but very high in nutrition. And I basically do that most of the week. On Saturdays, I'm pretty predictable. I have a keto pizza. I have a fathead keto crust for the bottom of my pizza. And then I have the incredible keto pizza from Eat Rich, Live Long by Ivor Cummins and Dr. Jeffrey Gerber on Saturdays. And then Sunday is that veggie fest with the big green egg cooking. And then the rest of the week, it's a big green leafy alongside the piece of protein. And I get ample fats in. I've been on maintenance now for, I think, 3 years, and that works for me. My weight is the lower 120-ish, and the summer, I like immediately packed on 3 pounds of water weight because of the humidity, and it was such a humid summer that's where it sat all summer on my body. And so then I had a bit of a whoosh, and so I just kind of remain there. It's kind of my set point. Do I do anything different since I'm on maintenance? Well, I pay very close attention. Being on maintenance doesn't mean that I can eat like a fool or eat non-keto items and still survive in the weight range that I want to be. I like feeling the way that I feel. I don't like that feeling of having food as my emotion killer or supporter, and which I used to do all the time. And now that I've been on maintenance with keto, with the sting of the emotions taken out of the food, I like to have very tasty foods, very fatty foods, but they aren't used to quell a sadness or a happiness. Or for me, my killer is always, always, always stress. Stress will just creep in and really take over. And it's like this buzz in my head, and I'm sure I'm producing quarts of cortisol, which do not support staying in your weight range, if any of you have ever noticed that. It's also not good for trying to get to sleep and things like that. So I try to keep my life as stress-free as possible and go along that way and really respect food as a fuel. Doesn't mean that it has to be bland and untasty. I have found what works for me, and I like my things rich and just delicious. I use cracked pepper a lot. I use the Redmond salt from Utah with my meals, and with my sparkling water when I'm doing overnights at work. I have a little jar of it that I just stick my tongue into. Sorry if that's a little too graphic. And that's how I roll. And then I have pink Himalayan in my coffees and my waters. I also use new salt or no salt or low salt, which is a little can. Looks like Jane's Crazy. It's that cardboard thing. And the cylinder of like a small Red Bull or something. And I have that with my second cup of water. I use the juice of a whole lemon, half with my first water and half in the second water. And I'm a big believer in not inordinate amounts of water, but heavily salted water. It's the salts that you're losing. And so if you're drinking a lot, and always peeing, you're going to be peeing out nutrients and everything else. And the salt helps keep the nutrients going. The salt keeps you balanced. It keeps you from being dizzy. And it's also, to me, the biggest help with the keto flu. And if you're not familiar with the keto flu, then you haven't you haven't begun yet. It can be dastardly, and a lot of people drink a lot of broth, but be careful what's in the broth because there's even wheat in some broth. So just be careful with that. And so I put my keto foods in. Like I said, I put the bones in for the week. It's pretty familiar foods to me. I don't get too daring. Um, so you'll see that a lot when I show what I'm having. I try to keep my carbs under 15 total. If you're my client, that's where you're aimed for too. On certain days, I keep my carbs even under 10. The big green leafy bowl of different lettuces is usually just no more than like 6 carbs, so you can do it for under 10. And then things like cream cheese, which I have sometimes, that has like a carb in it, in an ounce. So I have things like that, and they add up to the 10. But I basically have 2 cups of coffee during my intermittent fasting time period. I have one between like 3 and 4 in the morning if I'm not working. Excuse me. And then, or between like 11 and midnight if I am working. And then my second buttered coffee is at 9 a.m. And into that is like 1 tablespoon of Kerrygold or 1 tablespoon of organic Valley ghee. And I also have the pink Himalayan salt. I have diatomaceous earth in it too. It helps with the frothing. And then I have 3 good shakes of the Old Thompson pink Himalayan salt. It's that jar that's like that. So it's like 1, 2, 3. And I will have like maybe a half a cup of cashew milk or almond milk and 1 tablespoon of heavy whipping cream. So I'll have those 2 coffees 2 times a day. I have plenty of brain octane if I want to get back into that, but I'm not right now. I'm just having the buttered coffees as they are. They fuel me to eating. I eat 1 meal a day. We have it between 2 and 3 in the afternoon. That carries me. It doesn't interrupt with my working overnights. If you're new to my channel because it's September and it's new beginnings, welcome. I'm the strict one, and I don't believe in keto-fying, and I don't believe that it's going to help you. I know one woman who said when she loses 100 pounds, she'll introduce perhaps keto-fying, and she did, so she would make some keto desserts and some keto-fying of, I don't think too many breads, but yeah, so she does a lot of keto-fying now that she's lost her 100. But I believe that keto-fying things that could stall your loss. It won't get you into too much trouble unless you're a food addict in recovery and you're longing for the good old days of breads and desserts and you get bored easily. And that is a dangerous slope for somebody like me. That's why I like to keep my food. It's fuel. It's delicious. It's high fat, very low carb, moderate. It's low, moderate protein. So it's on the lower end of how many grams of protein I have. If you're working with me, you get 60 carbs of 60 grams of protein. And I like to keep mine in the 40 to 50 grams range. I'm an older woman with an older metabolism, and that seems to work for me. Younger people have sometimes more protein or more carbs, and they can still lose and adjust to it. But I think if you're over 50, perhaps it's time to look at those sort of things. I used to have a lot more vegetables than I do now. Do I miss them? Yes, of course, but I've gotten used to not having them. So that big green leafy salad, I have 4 tablespoons of oils on them. 2 are extra virgin olive oil organic, and the other 2 are macadamia nut oil. And the best I can get is non-GMO macadamia nut oil. And it might come from a country where it's organic to begin with. I don't know, because sometimes you'll have that. It will be an organic product, but because it's from another country, it's assumed it's organic because they don't have GMOs or non-organic issues. Like a lot of the places in Europe, you will find that things are just the way they are. They don't allow GMOs in that whole all of Europe. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, and here we are in the United States where they just push them. And so, anyway, so I'm the strict one. I try to lead people away from their beloved diet sodas and their pink, yellow, and blue packets of artificial sweeteners. There are plenty alternate sugars out there. I use Xyla in one of my cups of coffee, and I use erythritol in my second cup of coffee. And I just use small amounts. I just like a little sweet because I like it a little strong. So I like it a little strong and sweet. And so that's how I roll. I use heavy whipping cream that is organic, and it does not have growth hormones in it. Growth hormones can wreak havoc on a woman's constitution because they mess with our hormones, and seeing that most of our weight issues end up being hormonal, it's a very, very strong, it's a very, very strong deal for us to have wonky hormones because that controls our weight. And we are definitely different creatures than men. And so the older we get, the more we need to pay attention to our hormones. And that's why dairy is so not good for a lot of people, and they have to not have it. I'm not afflicted by the dairy. I have it in small amounts, except on the pizza night. That's when I know that I have, because of the cheeses that go into the crust and the topping. But outside of that, it just works for me. So happy September to all of you. And I hope that you get some goals in order. I hope you get your little house of food in order, and it loses its power over you and you enjoy what you're having, but it's not ruling your life like it may have in the past, like it did with me. So I'm here, I'm available. I also offer ketocoachingsarah.com, ketocoachingsarah.com, and it's where we can do 30 days of emailing your food, putting it into Chronometer, and then you give me permission. I get to see what you're having. It works, and I can suggest foods that maybe you shouldn't have. I know that the ones that people continue to have sometimes are the bottled salad dressings and mayo, because those still contain canola oil, soybean oil, and many other things that you can't pronounce. So, yeah, so it's just making better choices with foods, making better choices daily, getting out of the this'll do, the snacking, and things like that. So that's what we work on here. If you're new to this channel, welcome. We do talk about the older metabolism and how it's just different from when you're young, lithe, and 20. So beware of listening to young keto proponents, because they may be still able to have things with their constitution and their metabolism that we gave up long ago. We have been through a lot. We are all veterans of the standard American diet, no matter what age you enter into. But this one appreciates the older body and the older metabolism. So thank you so much for watching. This has been Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom in Food, with keto under 20 total carbs. Be careful of the net. If you're new here to keto, it's kind of like a vacation. It kind of gets scary. And for some of us, it kind of may not work. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you the next time. Bye-bye for now.